Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Spin the Wheel. This week's episode is going to be a little hectic and maybe going to be delayed and not be uploaded on Wednesday, but probably Thursday, Friday, depending on all the issues that are going on. Since I've already seen how my schedule is looking out this week, it's going to be one hectic thing since we have SDCC coming up this week, and I still have a few things I have to do in my personal life to get taken care of and situated. But anyways, we're going to be talking about, instead of the stuff I binged this week, we're just going to be talking about the new freaking toy catalog scans that have revealed a lot of stuff for Kamen Rider Build. But first off, let's go right into the Uchu Sentai Kyuranger news, since there's only like three things about it. First off, we've gotten to see what our final mechas are going to be, as well as we got a little closer teaser at what is Shishi Orion Red exactly. He'll get a new mecha, which is the Orion Battler. It's kind of like a giant space fortress battleship that kind of reminds me of King Pyramiter or Pyramidas in the full base mode, but also has this really weird looking robot mode that looks like a giant brick similar to Teo and Lion Howl. That means most likely the mini plot is going to be kind of asinine and not that good, but still probably enjoyable in this supposed rumored fortress mode where you can plug in several of the origami. Now, it's kind of hard to make it out due to the images being so small at this time, so I'm just guessing it might only be able to do the main base 5 or maybe like a few of the other additional Q Rangers. I'm not too sure. Another thing we also know is that there's going to be a super Shishi Red Voyager or a super Shishi Voyager, which is the Shishi Voyager and the Koji Shishi Voyager, which hasn't been really revealed, but what it supposedly is like additional attachments to your basic Shishi Voyager, which kind of gives it a really cool looking head sculpt, more pronounced like lion limbs under its undercarriage when it's in vehicle slash animal form, as well as gives it a frickin' bazooka. Also, it shows that you can plug in the other additional Q-Tamas into it to activate this mode, like as if it's going into mecha form. You just plug in the Q-Tamas and then attach the limbs as so. This is going to be actually kind of a cool power-up. Honestly, I would have preferred if this was the movie power-up rather than being a Cerberus, because I'm just not really happy with that green fur like paint scheme that it has. I gotta say though, this does look cool. A lot of people are shitting on this form, but honestly, I don't hate it. It looks nice. It just looks like it should have been executed a whole lot sooner in the series than it is going to be doing now. Then we come to the Kamen Rider Build portion, which is honestly a lot of stuff. First off, last week or so, like late last week, we got the initial inklings about Build and his suit and his various forms, his secondary rider, as well as one of his villains. And honestly, he really throws off a vibe of a fusion between Kamen Rider Drive and Double. He also has like this aesthetic that uses animals and machines. However, some additional forms don't tend to use that variant because it starts to be more like types of people, like classifications of warriors. Because we have a pirate, we have a ninja, and so it seems to be like it'll be animals and warriors fused with vehicles or some kind of technological advancement. So first off, Build will use the Build driver because, every driver is usually related to the name of the rider or some kind of theme that it's going with. It will actually use the full bottles, which are like these weird little capsules. People keep referring them to Judenshi. People also refer them to Ultra capsules. They actually kind of look more like goddamn Monsuno capsules, if anyone remembers that really crappy cartoon from a couple of years back. And you load it into your driver, and then you turn a crank on it, almost like a jack-in-the-box or like a fishing rod, and it'll execute your henshin. One of the things I like about it is before you transform, it actually asks, "Are you ready?" Which makes me want to make a whole bunch of DX jokes due to the fact that one of his forms will be able to be combined between like a black and green form. So, that would be pretty funny. Now, every one of these forms seems to have like a mix and match, kind of like Luna, Trigger, Heat, Metal, but you can still fuse them. It doesn't matter what you're using for these fusions. So let's run down. The first set that comes with the actual driver is called the Rabbit Tank. You have Rabbit, which is red. You have Tank, which is blue. The other additional forms are Gorilla Mond. Gorilla is blue. Diamond is brown. You have Hawk Gatling. Hawk is orange or more of a marigold. And then Gatling is silver. You have Nin Nin Comic, a purple ninja, and a yellow lightning like effect. There is Rocket Panda, or Panda Rocket, which is just a wonderful white and silver kind of scheme to it. It looks glorious, and I actually enjoy it. It looks so badass. Honestly, his first 5 forms are really incredible. You also have Kaizuko Resha, which is Pirate Train and Octopus Light. Like, all of these things are looking wonderful, even though the fusions are kind of crazy. We even have Legend Rider series bottles being announced, which are going to be X8 and Double. The Doctor and Gamer full bottles, and the Detective and USB full bottles. And that's one cool thing. Now, there are other forms that are announced that I want to get or want to see more of, but they're actually going to be sold in the DX line with the actual toys. Like, you're gonna have to buy the toys to get certain full bottles. And to get the Hedgehog, which is a lot of people's favorite form right now, especially when used with Tank, the Hedgehog Tank, you have to get it with his signature weapon, the Drill Crusher. The Drill Crusher is heavily reliant on this cool, like, spiral saber kind of like weapon, where the handle is also your gun when you also invert the cone to be your actual barrel to your rifle. Then his individual forms, like Hawk Gatling, has a mini SMG like handgun slash Gatling gun fusion. Nin Nin Comic has somewhat of a ninja slash samurai sword, and the Pirate Train or Kaizuko Resha has a bow gun. And then he also has a storage device that you can actually put the freaking bottles into, similar to like we've seen with like the Forze Switch Rack. This one's for the bottles, which comes with the Fire Engine full bottle. We also found out that his henshin device, or not his henshin device, but his motorcycle is a cell phone that transforms, similar to like how the lock seeds were in Gaim. This cell phone's going to enlarge and transform into the bike. It will come with the Lion bottle. We also know there's another form called the Cleaner, which will be another bottle that comes with the actual holder that you put onto your belt to hold the bottles in battle. And the basic toy line is going to be called the BCR series. Now, it shows additional figurines and assortments for some of the forms that we don't get to see, like the artwork for or the suits for in the toy catalog with their corresponding weapon. And that's where we get to find out that Hedgehog is supposed to be paired with Fire, and Lion is paired with Cleaner. And not all of the forms announced thus far seem to have figures releasing through late August to December, and we know that there is going to be a total of 8 figures releasing throughout those 4 to 5 months. So that's something. They're also roughly around $40 a figure, which is actually really high. I think these are quite higher than the basic retail figures I've seen thus far, but honestly, these scans could be off by a few digits due to the fact that the scans are quite blurry and hard to read when zooming in. One of his power-ups is actually going to be probably like a lucky draw campaign device, which is called the Lockful Bottle. And when he uses that with the secondary riders, Dragonful Bottle, Kamen Rider Build can become this form called Key Dragon Form. And it actually looks pretty awesome. It has like a padlock on his right eye and a actual key and a lock on his left shoulder with like really cool like dragon logo for his other eye socket, and has like this weird dragon kind of gimmick going through his right arm and chest. Now, since I said the Dragonful Bottle is our secondary rider, originally his name was rumored to be Close. Then it was originally rumored to be Close, like clothing, close, like close the door. And it was finally confirmed to be Kamen Rider Claws, where he will be able to use this form, or assume his form, through this cool device called the Claws Dragon, which is like this device that you have to plug into a build driver. Then you plug in the bottle and it'll allow him to henshin. He also has like this really cool like rocket kind of chainsaw weapon called the Beat Clawser, if I'm reading this correctly, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, I gotta say, at first I thought it like really reminded me of the rocket dagger from Goanger, but then it has an actual, like I said, chainsaw gimmick. It looks really futuristic and high tech, and looks like it's gonna be one awesome weapon in the show. As a toy, probably not so much. I mean, it's gonna be very indifferent from what's gonna go on, since toys are usually a lot smaller than they are seen on the show. And we also discovered through finding out like the catalog scans for Kamen Rider Clothes or Kamen Rider Claws that freaking Build is going to have this awesome power up that uses like an energy drink kind of soda can called the Rabbit Tank Sparkling, and it makes him kind of have like a almost like Fang Joker-esque kind of aesthetic to his base suit. It's like his main kind of power up, and it seems to be like it'll be his mid form, or at least his like first form, similar to like a Tokon Boost or a Tajidol form, before he starts getting the higher upgrades in the series leading to his eventual final form. Obviously, now the villains are the best for last, personally for me, because they are actually revolving around like Steam, or at least their weapons are themed off of like Steam related gimmicks, whereas they both are kind of based off of this titular like snake and bat kind of aesthetic that Kamen Rider goes with, because usually they like snakes, bats, and spiders as like their first kind of villains. So we have freaking Night Rogue or Nitrogue, which originally the name for this character had a lot of issues because people were thinking it was a play on the word night because of bat, but it was actually a play on the word nitro for nitrous being fast, going faster, and such like that. So it took at least 4 days for a clear translation to come out on what the actual name was meant to be, and he has this bat form that he obtains through the bat full bottle. There's also another character called Bloodstark, which could either be an alternate form for him or a completely different character. It's not been really distinguished due to the fact that the weapons do combine, which make people believe they could be the same character but have actual different forms when transforming and fighting, almost similar to think Counter Punch and Punch in the Transformers universe. And honestly, one of the things I like though is that they kind of look very Night-esque. They look very villain-esque, very horror themed, since they're supposed to be like bat and spider. They're very gothic kind of looks, as well as using like a themed of steam, like their theme is steam. So it looks beautiful. It looks amazing. The fact that their weapons, the trans steam gun and the steam blade, can combine together to become like an actual assault rifle looks really incredible. I mean, it looks awesome. I think the steam gun on its own looks good because it's really just a basic SMG, but then you put the stock into it and connect the actual blade for the steam blade onto it. It then looks like it's a bayoneted rifle and has the full stock, and it's a bit of, you know, basic assault rifle, kind of a sniper rifle, and it just looks wonderful. I really want to see what their entire bodysuits look like for Nitrogue and Bloodstark, because these things just look amazing. I like this whole kind of rumor and aesthetic that's going on with the show, is that like the series is going to be really reliant on 2 riders, and most likely if Bloodstark and Nitrogue are 2 different characters and not just the same one with alternate forms, that's going to be like their rivals throughout the show. So it might have like this team aesthetic of like they're like, you know, competing against each other or trying to stop each other for whatever goal is going on. But I could see that, you know, either if Nitrogue and Bloodstark are the same character or different characters, that they either eventually do become Kamen Rider, similar to Mashin Chaser becoming Kamen Rider Chaser, just due to stuff we've seen in previous seasons thus far, with how they're kind of trying to do the whole redeeming of a like villainary character into a actual rider, or foreshadowing that this villain is meant to be a good guy kind of thing. So I really do like actually this series. Like, this series really is speaking to me right now due to the gimmicks, due to the designs. I like the simplicity of the idea of maybe going back to 2 riders and then eventually maybe getting, a few more riders later on if our villains are good guys. I like the whole fusion between two of my favorite writers by design alone. Now, Double is not my favorite writer for series, it's the design. I've always liked his design, and seeing that they're kind of mixing matching how like the tire Kokon aspect of Drive kind of looks like, and making it more of a mix and match, like a DNA helix, when you look like how you put the bodies together to make your action figure. Looks swell, looks splendid, and I am just in love with the overall aspect. I think though, like, a lot of stuff is gonna have to be revealed about the show for me to want to know if I'm gonna end up throwing down the money for, say, the BCR figures or some of the weapons, because I still really kind of want to get Hawk Gatling, the gun, because I mean it's a small handgun slash SMG that is also a Gatling gun. I want, the sparkling can, even though I don't really intend to get the driver right away. And I really feel like I'm gonna be buying the villain stuff. Honestly, the funniest thing about it is when you look back at Drive, when you look back at Xaid, all I've gotten technically have been more villain related products rather than the main core good writers in at start, because like when Drive came out, the first thing I got was, I think, just the Drive driver, just because the gimmick hooked me immediately. But I threw more money down into getting all of Chase's stuff before I got anything else from the line. And same goes for like Xaid. The first thing I did was I went and I bought freaking the Buggle driver, and I bought, Dangerous Zombie and all that stuff. So right now, villains are cool and the good guys are questionable. Nevertheless, though, don't forget that Superhero Time does move Sundays to the 9 o'clock slot in this fall. So, for people who actually watch it live through special streaming services or illegal streaming services, you're going to have a different way of watching it, because instead of being, at 7 or 6 in the afternoon, if you're on the East Coast, it's going to be probably like 8 or 7 or 8, depending on the time shift. However, it shouldn't really affect the fan subs, so that's one thing. Overall, though, like I said, yeah, Build is actually looking really good, whereas Kyuranger, you're almost done, and I'm really wondering what's going to happen when your show's over. Anyways, this concludes our show, so I will see you guys all next time on the next episode of Spin the Wheel. As always, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as watch Spin the Wheel or listen to Spin the Wheel here on YouTube or over at SoundCloud. See you guys next time.